Every morning at exactly 7:15, when the sun spilled gold across the windows of the old roadside diner, Emily tied her light blue apron, tucked a loose strand of blonde hair behind her ear, and prepared herself for another day of whispers. The diner smelled of fresh coffee and buttered toast, but for Emily, it always carried a faint trace of judgment. Customers stared a second too long. Children pointed before their parents gently pulled their hands down. Teenagers sometimes giggled. The scar on her left cheek, jagged and unmistakable, had become the first thing people noticed and the last thing they forgot. Years ago, a car accident had taken her parents and left her with that mark. Doctors had called it a miracle that she survived. Emily sometimes wondered if miracles were supposed to feel so heavy. She worked double shifts to pay for community college, dreaming of becoming a nurse someday, wanting to help others the way strangers once helped her. But dreams are fragile when the world keeps reminding you that you look different. That morning, a group of well-dressed young professionals walked in, loud and confident. Emily greeted them with her usual gentle smile, pen and notepad ready. One of the women glanced at her scar and smirked. "Oh my God, what happened to your face?" she blurted out, not even attempting to lower her voice. The table erupted in awkward laughter. Emily felt the familiar burn crawling up her neck, but she kept her tone steady. "What can I get for you today?" she asked, as if their words hadn't pierced her. The comments continued in hushed tones that weren't hushed enough. "It's kind of scary. Do they not have makeup for that? I'd never work front service like that." Each sentence felt like another small stone thrown at her confidence. Still, she carried plates, refilled coffee, and thanked them politely. Dignity had become her armor. Outside, a sleek black luxury SUV pulled into the parking lot, its polished surface reflecting the morning light. Few people noticed, except the diner owner, who instinctively straightened his shirt. The man who stepped out didn't look arrogant or flashy. He wore a tailored dark suit but carried himself with calm humility. His name was Daniel Carter, a self-made millionaire known in the city for turning struggling businesses into success stories. But today, he wasn't there for business. He was passing through town, revisiting the place where his late mother once worked as a waitress decades ago. As he walked into the diner, the bell above the door chimed softly. His eyes scanned the room until they landed on Emily. He noticed the scar immediately, but not in the way others did. He saw the way she kept her shoulders squared despite the laughter from table 7. He saw how her hands trembled slightly yet never spilled a drop of coffee. He saw strength. Taking a seat in her section, he waited patiently. When Emily approached, she braced herself for another reaction. Instead, Daniel simply smiled warmly. "Good morning. You look like someone who's already had a long day," he said kindly. The unexpected gentleness caught her off guard. "It's only 8 a.m., she replied softly. "Then I'll try to make it better," he said. Throughout the meal, he asked about her dreams, not her scar. He listened, truly listened, when she spoke about nursing school and night classes. At the other table, the group's mocking whispers grew louder, emboldened by each other's cruelty. One of them even snapped a photo, laughing. Daniel's expression changed. Not angry, just disappointed. When Emily walked away to grab his check, he stood up and calmly approached the group. "Excuse me," he said, his voice steady but firm. "Do you find it entertaining to laugh at someone who's working harder than most of us ever will?" The table fell silent. "Confidence isn't measured by perfection," he continued. "It's measured by resilience. And from what I see, she has more of it than anyone here." His words hung heavy in the air. Other customers began to notice. The once loud table suddenly avoided eye contact. Daniel returned to his seat as Emily came back, unaware of what had just happened. He placed a generous tip inside the bill folder, far more than the cost of the meal. But that wasn't all. He handed her a simple business card. "You said you want to become a nurse," he said. "My foundation funds medical students who faced adversity. Call this number. Ask for me personally." Emily stared at the card, unsure if this was real. "Why would you do that for me?" she whispered. Daniel smiled gently. "Because someone once believed in my mother when she wore an apron just like yours. And because scars don't make a person weaker, they prove they survived." Tears welled in her eyes, but for the first time in years, they weren't from humiliation. They were from hope. Word spread quickly after Daniel left. The group that mocked her paid their bill quietly and slipped out without another word. The diner owner approached Emily later that day. "I had no idea you were carrying all that alone," he admitted. "You're one of the strongest people I know." That night, Emily stood in front of her small mirror at home, tracing the scar lightly with her fingers. For years, she had seen it as a flaw. Now she saw it differently. It was proof she had endured loss, pain, and cruelty, and still chose kindness. Weeks later, Emily received a letter confirming a full scholarship sponsored by Daniel's foundation. Tuition, books, living expenses, covered. On her last day at the diner before starting school, customers who once barely noticed her now greeted her warmly. Confidence radiated from her smile in a way no makeup ever could. And somewhere in the city, Daniel received a handwritten thank you note that read, "You didn't just defend me. You reminded me who I am." Sometimes, life changes not because of revenge or riches, but because one person chooses to stand up when everyone else stays silent. If this story touched your heart, remember that kindness costs nothing but can change everything. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories that remind us all of the power of resilience, compassion, and believing in someone when the world tries to tear them down.